Hi guys, Johnny here, Mr. Forex Fire. Got the kick-off cup of tea at the ready because the kids were later going out to school. It's getting darker mornings, it's getting harder to get them out and ready. But hey ho, part of life. Let's have a look. Share the screen. Let's open up. So yesterday we had structure of play. We were coming in, and as we went into our initial trading session, we had a little bit of an uptrend and then a reaction and then an instant down, little bit of a downtrend. Again, this is the 1 minute, so this happened quite quick. It was up and then down, and then we went into an accumulation phase before we eventually rocketed. But before we did that, we come back in to mitigate into this sort of pullback zone. As you can see, that's a pullback because we were in a downtrend, pull back up into a lower high, and it came out and it came down to beautifully mitigate into around about 50% or so. Other than that, we then got the move up to these higher areas. As you can see, this was completely mitigated. We can get rid of that. This was completely mitigated as we were expecting. And we even started mitigating up into this higher area. And as we moved on, we pushed through 2 more. So all of the bias has been met over those last few days. Let's just take a look. I'm going to go up to the 1 hour for a moment because there has been some massive push on the euro, to be fair. And we've actually come through the orange line as well. And I'm doing this before we set our goal posts. So for the hour, I just want to set that area there. Even though this is indecisiveness, I want to set those candles there as a demand area. Okay, so that's going to be our demand area. On the higher side, I'm going to sort of, we'll get that one out. We're going to have that as a target sort of area. So again, demand I normally have as grey. Demand is orange, sorry. Supply is grey on the top. So that's my crossbar and my goal line. Let's go down to the 1 minute again. Let's get the path. And this is just to give us what a higher time frame aspect would look like. I'm just going to push us down to there. And again, this doesn't have to be 100% spot on. And again, what we do is we go up 2 time frames once we do that, just to see how that path has played out. And I think it's safe to say, you can see we've got that pretty spot on, to be fair. Okay, so yeah, let's just move this out of here. Move that to there. Yeah. Yep. So again, we've got as a half-hour range. Okay, because you've got to pull back here. Because that there is an impulse. That's a range there. So we do that as yellow or orangey. And I just want to write in there 30 min range pullback. So I've got that in there. Let's go down to our 1 minute. Let's take a look. I will set our goalposts. So we've got 8:30 start. That's right, John. And then we do our why isn't that clicking? That's better. So again, 10:30. Yeah, finish. We've got our fire one there. Let's get scrolled in. Let's look at structure. We're in what I would call an accumulation phase at the moment, simply because we've had the big push up. Now we're going to crossways. So as a range, there's a range on the higher time frame, which is that there, but obviously the lower time frame you're sort of looking from this swing up to there. It's in a range at the moment. So before I get into any trades, if I'm honest with you, let's call out this here. Let's certainly call out that there. So I want to see some form of breakout first, to be honest. Okay. Gonna get rid of that. And again, we need to mark out. There's nothing really there to mark up, to be fair, at the moment, other than you're just about to come into the area. So we've got the high. Got a low. Got a lower high. And then we've got a lower here. So we're stuck within a range, obviously here, of course. And that range there. So that's the setup for the spawning at the moment. Looking at where we could go on a directional bias, we may get a break down to here, okay, into there. This is the 30-minute pullback range, remember, but we've got an area of supply here, bouncing off this, and then possibly going off to the higher side. We need price to let price do what it wants to do. We'll see what happens with that. At the moment, if I'm honest with you, there's nothing showing its hand at all. So I think today may be a bit of a difficult day, to be fair. I normally like Tuesdays to trade because I normally call it turnaround Tuesday. The markets tend to find their feet. But on this occasion, this on the euro certainly found its legs late last night, around about 11:30 late last night. It's given from there till where we are today. It's moved 49 pips, so it's done a big move. Doesn't say it's not going to do it again. Again, as it's come up and done that move, it's done the impulse. We have a little bit of exhaustion, so it's come from an upward trend. It's then got what we call an accumulation phase, and then it might sprout legs again. But it's not until we get break a structure. We might get a continuation down, which is what I'm anticipating. But again, I do believe the general bias overall is we'll end up here on a second drive push at some stage. It might not happen during the session. It might happen again. Let's see late tonight. It might come across late tonight. But we'll wait and see what happens. We'll wait for these breaker structures. We might only get 1 or 2 trades a day. Again, remember what I'm looking at for today. We're doing the asymmetrical compounding, so we need to get 2 trades in a row before we can turn that dial. We're still yet to be able to do that at the moment. So we took a loss yesterday of -1. Let's just remind ourselves of that. And again, we needed to take that off there, didn't we? I forgot to do that off there yesterday. So 40.85 is what we're on altogether. We're on a new date today, the 19th of October. So we've got that saved up. Let's go back onto here. And again, it's just a case of lining your ducks up, waiting for the hand to show itself, and then we simply just take it from there. So I'm going to pause the video, have my cup of tea, and we'll be back with you in a moment. Hi guys, we're now around about half an hour into the session, and the 8:30. I do apologize. I've just noticed, I thought that was a little bit bigger. So there we are. So it looks as if we're going to start heading into a breaker structure within the range. Okay, so I'm still not 100%. Again, I would normally treat this as that's the order block, that's the range, that's the break. Just take a look. There's a few things I just want to look at before I decide whether I'm going to go for this. First of all, we've got 53 seconds left. There's starting to be a bit of a pullback. That's only, let's have a look at this. Because what we've got there is a breaker structure, obviously, which would need to be visual. Okay, so we need to be visual. We've got a breaker structure from that lower high. At the moment, we have liquidity residing on the top end here. We might get the push out over that. So what you've got there is an order block here. Okay. Obviously, there's an order block there, but you also have one residing here. Okay, last down before the up. You've got one residing there. That's a firebox. If we drill, this is going to be an analysis day by the look of it. So we're going to be starting to drill in. And when you get days like this where price is not showing too much, we're stuck in ranges and things like that, you then start to have to sort of do a bit more deep diving, if I'm honest with you. So from there, I just want to sort of look at, we've got an impulse drive here. So that wick there to that wick there, pull that out, that's in balance. Okay, it was all buying power, that's in balance there. So we've got every reason for, if price, because we've had the break structure, if price was to come down, we've got two areas of where price may come into, because we've got the pullback here, the order block, but we've also got price to have to mitigate into this area. Other than that, you have another area here which is just on the top side. That's in balance as well. And from there, you've got another red candle. That there technically could be an order block. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to be sort of worrying too much on the push up at the moment. I may take this as a trade, actually, a 1 to 4. Let's pull this down. We'll do 1 to 3 point. Let's take a look. Yes, we're going from these. Yes. So we're going to 1 to 3.96. I'm going to leave this loaded up, if that makes sense. So you can see these areas where we've got imbalance. That's been mitigated, okay? So this is going to be a bit of more of an educational sort of thing to see how price reacts, okay? We've got the order block here. You see how it's wicked into the order block bit, and then it's shot back up. So we might get that, and then we might get the drive going higher to take out the liquidity, because that candle there is holding its own liquidity at the moment. So what's happening is, obviously, we've come down, we've come up, broke a structure, liquidity resides here before it even goes to the top side. We've come down, met the imbalance here, okay? But then we've also, bang, slammed and touched into this little order block thing here. These all hold relevance within the structure, okay? And you can see it's slam dunked into that order block. It's mitigated into it, and now it's going to push. The thing is, the question is it going to push and take liquidity here, or is it going to push to take liquidity on the higher side, or will it actually come down to start to mitigate into an imbalance area, into an order block before taking off, or will it actually come back down to where the inefficiency is on these 3 levels that we've identified within this impulse move? We've got 3 levels of inefficiency that could be met before we get another drive up. So what I mean by that on inefficiency is we've left a footprint here, wick to this wick. That is an imbalanced area. We've got more or less an order block, a pullback area. So I've covered the wick from here to this wick here because a lot of indecisiveness. So I've called that an order block area. And then we've got the bigger order block on the bottom, and we've cushioned our order block by an entry just above it and a cushion just below, giving us a risk to reward of 1 to 3.96. And again, we're only risking 1% as we normally do. So from there, we're just waiting to see what this price is going to do here, whether it's just going to respect, come back down and take the inefficiency down on the lower side, or will it smash and go through these higher targets. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back in a moment. We're not going to concentrate on the whole picture. We're going to do a little bit of price action and concentrate what's happening within this range here, okay? Because we've come and broke out that range. Which area is this going to respect from? Is it going to bounce straight from this order block, or will we come down to meet one of the other 3 inefficiencies within that impulse drive? I hope that makes sense. Again, sometimes doing these little bits of videos within the structure, it helps you identify these areas, whether it's order blocks, imbalances, and things like that. So we'll be back in a moment, guys. And there we have it, guys. Again, I'm trying to be as visual as I can to give you some more deep dive analysis, to be fair, within what I've got here on a price action. We've had a double top here. Again, this is on the minute chart, remember, so these do sort of move quick, but again, the point of interests, they just get respected just as much as any other sort of any other time frame, to be fair. So we've come down, we've now smashed through that. So there's a smash through number 2. So now we're heading towards the footprint of imbalance here, and this consolidated Like it's a mixture between a pullback and an order block as such, because there's been indecisiveness here. Again, there's no above these two areas. If we look into here, we don't have any sort of imbalance as such, because you're looking here, the wick, yes, we had a drive, but we came back down to sort of, if you wanted to see there was imbalance, okay, let's just drill in. You could see, right, from that wick to that does hold imbalance. It does hold a slight amount, okay? So if I was to drag this out, look at that, guys. Yeah, like I say, I don't make this stuff up. It's actually taken the imbalance of that area. So we'll go massively deep, massively deep diving into the actual price action and the way it's respecting individual candles in balanced areas and what's the word, imbalanced areas and order blocks. So that mitigated beautifully at the 50%, but it wasn't finished. It comes straight back in with a doji candle, and it smashed through and took all the price action from that. So again, it just shows you the importance. And I hope with me sort of doing these sort of things where I'm breaking everything right down, you're getting just as much out of this as me showing you taking the trades, because once you start putting your eyes on the charts and doing this yourself, I mean, you could do it on any pair, again, any time frame, and practice doing this even on a live chart. You don't have to trade, and this is another takeaway from this, okay? You don't have to do a live trading session. You don't have to live trade. Do this on a live chart, okay? When you see an impulse move, a high and a low area, mark that out, deep dive into it, start marking these areas like this, like your order blocks on this between the swings on the intermediary price. Start marking out your imbalance areas, and then zoom yourself in to the action and watch, especially on the 1 minute, because obviously you're going to see the price move a bit more, and practice and identify these separate areas and how price is coming in to do the mitigation, how price is reacting from these areas. Maybe put a supply and demand area in there as well, because the more repetitive you get on doing this, the more your eyes is going to open up and you're going to see price action for what it is and what it does, okay? So again, if we sort of scroll out of this, we can see this here has broke that structure there. So again, I would possibly wait for one or two things before getting in on a proper trade. If this was for one, this is a live, this will be a trade at the moment. We are anticipating a push down to push up. If this was to break the structure of that, I would possibly then get rid of all this and do an order block from here, okay? An order block from here, although it has mitigated when you look into this. A good deep dive. This, the last down before the up. Let's just take a look at this. That there would be an order block. You can see it did push up, pushed out, but then it came back in and it's wicked straight into it. So again, I would wait for a further push out on the upside, at least before getting in on a long. I would possibly wait for another push out completely of this higher side. But for now, for me personally, this here on the bottom is my entry for now. I'm not trying to chase price. I'm not chasing for an entry. I'm just trying to understand the movement within the current sort of range, which is this low to this higher high now, because it did break structure there. And we're just anticipating a more definitive move within the market. Because again, we are overall, guys, if you look at it, we are still stuck within this range. We just need to anticipate, understand, and look at how price is moving. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause the video, and I hope you're taking a little bit away from this today, because I do believe it's going to be more of an analytical day than anything else. I have taken a trade already, if I'm honest with you, but that was before we started this session. I took it on the Euro USD on my live account. I took a little bit of money out of the chart, but that does not get documented on here. Now, what we're seeing now is a push through here. I still believe one of these three is going to be taken. It just depends which one it's going to be, but we are still stuck in this price range at the moment. So I'm just respecting and understanding the price movement for now. Right, so as you can see there, guys, we're stuck in a range within the range, if that makes sense. The liquidity is built up here. Again, even though the break of structure has happened above here, we're still obviously respecting our point of interest there as well. Certainly caught in a range the day. Again, I'm not worrying too much, simply because I can't stress this enough. I let price come to me and where I'm looking at, and at the moment it's the parameter down on this lower side of this range. If we were to break this high point, I've certainly got areas here that I would sort of be looking at as a mitigation to then continue on the upside. I do still believe the general bias is at some stage we're going to come down to mitigate into this area. This is nested inside of the 30-minute range pullback. And again, this might not happen now. It might not happen in the next few hours, but we still got the rest of the today's trading during the 19th today. We can always look back to see my biases was correct going into tomorrow's session. Let's just deep dive into this again, see where we are. Obviously, imbalance was met. We've come down. There was a slight bit of imbalance on the 1 minute chart on here. It beautifully took that out. So this is why I am, as long as liquidity holds strong on here, then I do believe it's going to take one of these three things out here: an order block, the bigger order block, or the imbalance area. Again, I'm structurally within this range, within that range there of that pullback of this slight downtrend. And it's not really a downtrend as such, because we only had a high, lower, 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 high, lower, lower. There was a slight part of a reversal happening here because we've got that break of structure from that standpoint, if that makes sense. I'm waiting for, there could be a fake out, a continuation and trend down to come in to bounce on here to then come up to possibly take out the liquidity on the higher side. So I'm still waiting for that down move, if I'm honest with you. We are now heading into the half-time mark. So I think what I'll do is I'll go and make myself a half-time cup of tea, another one. And again, it's not about rushing into trades. It's about understanding price action, guys. And we're going to have a full-time talk after this, like a team talk, just to get the point across what I want you guys to do, which is going to help you stay disciplined. Okay, doing things like this, it will help you stay disciplined and not overtrade. And that's what one of the hardest emotions is, to get yourself away from the fear of missing out. Once you understand that price can hurt you like that instantly, you know, and you've just got to respect and understand what it's doing. So I'm going to go and make a half-time cup of tea. Again, stay on till the end of this, because as I go along, I do pause the videos and then start recording once we're into another bit of action. And then from there, we will be doing a full-time talk and a general chat on how I thought that the prices behaved today. And not only that, we go over the structure on what we did going into today's session, and I look forward to doing that at the end of the session. So I'll be back in a minute, guys, once I've made a cup of tea. All right. Just made my cup of tea, and I love my cups of tea, guys. My chocolate biscuit, half time. So what we've got, we start to come down, and we're going to start playing into these areas. So we've got to remember, guys, just remember that this is a range, okay? The low to the high, we're stuck within a bigger range. We're now coming in to mitigate into that imbalance area. The thing is, the imbalance, are we going to get a reaction where it's, are we going to get a reaction where it's going to bounce off that and then move higher? I'm hoping it's going to come deeper, to be fair. I don't just want to see that reaction. I want to see if this is coming down to mitigate into these areas. I would rather see price come into the entry area. Again, we're being patient. Can't stress it enough on why it's important to be patient. The last thing you want to do, especially when you're scalping in the markets, is start trying to scalp within a swing point in itself, because you're going to get trapped within the swing itself. You are anticipating the scalp, and when you get in on a scalp, you are anticipating the move to be on an entry to be able to take the liquidity out. You do not want to be scalping and being stuck inside of a range, if that makes sense, which is another takeaway. So again, I wouldn't want to say I want to sell and get a few pips down to this area. No, it doesn't work like that, simply because we've got 3 areas of interest that price can break through. We're anticipating the lower one being the one on the bargain basement buy in this instance, because within that swing impulse move up, we're waiting for that pullback, and the deeper this comes down to that lower area, the better we're getting on a price paid. So we're looking for that Black Friday deal, so to speak, you know. So we have wicked into the imbalance area of this here. However, it's done a little bit of a reaction. Let's have a look on the high side and delve a little bit deeper as well. Okay, let's just see, we can see why there's a reason this is going to sort of wick back up, and we can see there was a reason. You can see from there down to there, that was the reason there. As it's wicked into here, that would have been imbalance in itself. See this, guys? As it's come down to wick into here, it's come back and it's wicked on the imbalance on this here. So it's taken out that imbalance. Sometimes you've got to deep dive into these things to be able to understand. Price efficiency on its way down, that was the only imbalance there. However, it spiked up to take it out. We might get a continuation down now into these lower areas. You see how the wick is just massively jumped up. Now we're going to start seeing a little bit of a drive down with a bit of luck. And again, there's reasons why you get these silly little wicks or drive or impulse or spikes. It's because the smart money is want to take out these areas of imbalance and things like that. I'm hoping we're going to see a little bit of a drive down now. So what you've got, I suppose, if you want to look at it, is this here could be an order block in a way, because liquidity is being held here. Okay, so a trade within a trade, but we're not here to do that. You could see there's that there. To that liquidity there. That's a 1 to 2.36. But again, I'm not going to jump into trades just for the sake of it. I'm still holding on this bigger one, to be fair. It looks like we're getting the bounce from out of this imbalance. We will see if this is now going to take the structure point of these two here. We'll be back in a moment, guys. And again, guys, as you can see, we mitigated into this area here. We had a push back up. And once again, we've come back in to mitigate again. However, this time, if we do our deeper dive, okay, you can see if we base that candle there, okay, that was liquidity until we had this candle here. It come down and took that out. So as this sort of stuff happens, okay, as this sort of stuff happens, it's just basically, get rid of that. Just bear with us, guys. So basically all it's doing, it's coming in deeper. It's coming in deeper to mitigate into this area of imbalance. Again, it may be a case of this holds its structure. We might get another deeper dive into here, but if we get the 50% tested, I think we might get the push from this area here rather than the bargain basement buys, to be fair. Okay, so again, today's session is a bit more of an analytical approach, understanding price and not getting sort of rushed into a trade, if that makes sense. We're understanding price action today. We're having a bit more of an analytical approach, and sometimes we have to have days like this because it sort of gives your eye that bit more training that it needs. And I'm never going to get involved in a trade when we are stuck inside of a range. Okay, for me, when I get days like this, I will not come away from the chart, because after all, every day is a new learning process. Doesn't matter how good you think you are in Forex trading, you will learn something new every day. So it's days like this where it's good to do your markups and your bias. And then from your swing point, even if you're stuck in a range, you mark up these areas here just to see how the price plays into them and plays away from them, if that makes sense. So again, we are now heading to, just before 10 p.m. There's around about 40 minutes left of this session. Yes, I haven't gotten in on a trade, but yes, I protected my capital, and that's the way I see it. This is too choppy, too wicky at times as well. Again, we still hold this as an overall trade entity because we had the break of structure here from the swing point, but inside of this, we've had a lot of price, well, not so much price inefficiency. There's only basically two areas left for price to come into on the lower side. 2.5 if you count the 50% of the imbalance, but we've got the two order blocks and the imbalance area. We'll let price continue to do what it needs to do, and remember, stay on, because at the end we're going to be having our full-time talk and a further chat. Okay, guys, thank you. Right, so we can see now we've had that mitigation into this imbalance area. This area here now has been taken. So there's been a break of structure there, if that makes sense. So if you just bear with me, I've got someone at the door, guys. Hi guys, sorry about that. Yeah, so we've had a break of structure on here. So I'm just taking a look. And we've had a break of structure on the higher side. So it's time to possibly start looking at something else. Again, we wait, we waited on our hands. We've had the break of structure now, finally. Let's just take a look. Possibly looking at that. That's the breaker structure there. One to 4.8, albeit we do have structure down here as well. We'll go for this side here, I think, to be on this the better side. So we've got the order block, but we're going to cushion in the wick with that as well. So 1 to 3.09. Because we've come out of the range now, you see. And what we'll do is we'll deep dive into this as well. At the moment, we've got that as an imbalance area. We'll get these marked up because that's what we've been doing today. We've been marking areas of possible interest. Again, that wick there, so that wick there, that's coming into the entry area as well. That's imbalance. This here was the order block. We might get a reaction if I'm honest with you, but I think it was going to be a little bit too risky. We've got the imbalanced nesting within an order block area, so we may get price come down, mitigate, and push up out of the liquidity area. Okay, so what we've got, price is now that one there has been a breaker structure. Okay. It's going to mark something up as well at the moment. So if we did go with price from there, spare me, the door's going again, guys. I do apologize. Can you believe it? Knock after knock on the door. Yeah, so I'm going to get rid of this one here because we've had that breaker structure. Out of breath now. That's the area. Get rid of this. Bring that back in. It's coming down. It's possibly going to mitigate into it, to be fair. Go back. That's where liquidity resides at the moment. Just getting in on a live trade as well on my other account. So I've got my live account going. We are anticipating this move down to go up. And we are now at the moment, the last half hour of play. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back to that in a moment. Again, there hasn't been really too much going on as such. Oh, just bear with me. Let's have a look. So Right, so we've created a high, and this here was a higher low. We created certainly a higher high here as well. So we're going to have a rundown and a run through play on what's happened. Again, unfortunately, it looks as if what's happened, we're being caught in the range from like what it was yesterday. As we've been caught in a mid-range, there hasn't been a definitive trend of continuation down or a trend of continuation up, which makes it harder for this sort of style and strategy to go and trade from. However, we may be lucky. We may be able to get in a trade at the end of the session. We broke out of the range, most certainly. We're just anticipating this move down before the push up, to be fair. Let's have a look. We'll see what happens. I'm going to pause the video, guys, and I'll be back in a second. So as you can see, guys, we're now starting to move up. We're just going to move the parameter. This is now break a structure. That's our order block. Again, the order block's cushioned by this wick as well. Let's push that up a little bit more. So again, liquidity resides there. So we're in a swing point. We've got a high. The high low. We are heading into the back end of the session now. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. It's only a 1 to 4.2. Going to close out a trade on my live account. Again, we're going to anticipate price to come back down, to come into this, and then to push out. It is only a 142. Again, the other order block of the consolidation was down here. Just see if we can get this trade towards the back end of the session. Again, just to go back on the preference, you can see it's been choppy coming into this. We've had a little bit of a down accumulation on the top side, okay, and then it sprung out of this. It's now moving up. We are just anticipating a move back down into this order block from the breaker structure here to take out the liquidity on the high side. It's now 10:15. We've got 15 minutes. Again, if nothing happens today, it's just been an analytical day. We go back, we'll do a full-time team talk, see where we are, see what's happened with the runner player, look at the structure points, and then we'll have a conclusion to what's happened today and what my personal thoughts has been on this session, okay? My takeaway on today. So again, just bear with me. I'm going to pause the video and we'll be back in a moment. Hi guys, we're back again. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to call that the session for today. We have around about 10 minutes left. There's nothing really much happened today. So other than we've had some bit of an analytical approach to today's session. Again, going on what I trade and what I do personally, I have taken a trade, but it was prior to the half-year start on this. This is a process that I'm doing, documenting it over the course of, it was initially 4 weeks, okay, over that 4-week period, but I'm going to run this into the Christmas, because now what we're doing is, if we do get those 2 trades in a row, we're going to turn it down and do the asymmetrical trading. Again, for me personally, we'll run through where we are, what's happened, just so we can be understanding on why we didn't take a trade today, or why it just didn't happen. And from there, we sort of journal this. And again, from my aspect, my journey is, I always look back on what I do on these videos, and I take notes myself as well. So if there's anything that I've said that sort of resonated again, from my outlook and my sort of aspect of what I'm marking up on the charts, I always, and I urge everybody to do this, I'll take a note of what I said, pause the video, timestamp, and I'll highlight it, so then I've got notes to go back onto. So I'm constantly evolving, I'm constantly learning, and this is how we adapt ourselves to the charts. Okay, so if you just bear with me, my phone went a little bit daft. So from there, let's understand where we were. Okay, so we were this here, or should I say it, that there, from there to there. So as the markets has been moving up strongly, 11:30 late last night, there could have been some great trading opportunities in here with regards to the order block run. 49 pip impulse move, okay? So there could have been some fantastic percentages caught with that, within that impulse. Again, I don't stress over that. It is what it is. My allowance of my goalposts that I set are set for them times. I stick to those times. I will not deviate from the plan, okay? And I'll give you a more understanding on why I don't do this, okay, in a moment. As we've come up, we've gone into the impulse drive, into what we call an accumulation or a distribution sort of fears on the top, distribution on the top, and it was caught in a range, okay? We were caught in a range, but from there, just to give you an aspect of time, to be fair, from there to there, the 4 hours. Now, let's look into this as in context, okay? We're trading the 1 minute chart, okay? From there, you're looking at 4 hours worth of consolidation within that area. Within that area, high to low, there has only been a 10 pip range, okay? Now, as we go into the goalposts, as you can see there, as we went into the goalpost area, it's took till halfway through the session before we got a breakout. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I did not stress to get on a trade. I looked at a longer term one, as you've seen at the beginning of the session, but again, 4 hours worth of consolidation distribution phase, okay? But on top of that, this is on a 1 minute chart. This is a 1 minute chart, don't forget. So having 4 hours of a compressed spring, because don't forget, we had a huge impulse drive from 11:30 late last night to then it entered this phase, unfortunately for us today. But again, we look at it from the flip side of the coin, the positive side. It has allowed us to draw our charts, the highs, the lows, the lower lows, the lower highs. And then we came out of that with a little bit of a break of structure into a quarter of the way through. And then we seen, as we went into that, we created a higher low because we didn't break the structure of this. And then the momentum after the distribution phase has then continued on the upside. We have now, if you look at this now, we haven't entered the trade, okay? I'm protecting that. We that we are ending the session, again, from that aspect, this would have been an entry and it would be in drawdown at the moment. I'm glad I haven't taken that trade, because if I'm honest, I do believe this is going to come down and start taking out these higher lows. So that has been a good decision to not take the trade. And this all comes with practice. It all comes with understanding what's happened prior to coming into our session. And it comes with practice of being able to stay self-disciplined and not have the fear of missing out. Because over time, when it comes to you trading a solitary pair, that's what you're doing, like what I'm doing here. You come accustomed to how the price is reacting, how the price is behaving. And when you get these sort of subjective areas with regards to a big spike and impulse move, what's happened late last night, going into this morning, and we've all of a sudden hit that consolidated area, you just know price is going to sort of misbehave a little within that, have a little bit of a spike out to come back in to mitigate again, and I'll say this again, to mitigate improper price action of that consolidation zone before eventually either springing right out again for a second impulse phase drive, or massively taking out everything on the higher low side, or get until it breaks through, and then once it breaks through the range, to then come back to bounce off that, to then start its drive on a downward continuation downtrend. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense for you today. So all in all, and I'm glad I closed that trade out before it even ended, because it has in fact went through that. So again, from my sort of aspect, my outlook on what I can see on the charts, it all comes together, if that makes sense. It's just like putting jigsaw pieces together. You can see we're now having a massive continuation down. We are now taking out these lower highs, these higher lows. So again, that's been a break of structure there in itself. And now it's going to head, it's certainly going to head down towards the liquidity on that. I dare believe. And again, I'll mark this up simply because it gives me something to look at tomorrow morning when we start tomorrow morning session off. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today's session. I'm going to have a general chat on the big screen in a moment. I hope you have enjoyed today's session. As we found price was in that consolidation, we drove into the range of what we were anticipating on a price, okay, with regards to entry, stop loss, TP. Within the upper area, your entry to TP, we were looking for areas of interest or POIs, which will give you a footprint on why price may come back down towards that entry, which is imperative. We need to understand what could happen, what could not happen, and what could go against us. We need to understand why we are getting in on the trade. We need to understand what could happen if it comes out of the trade, because after all, you should not be getting into another trade straight away on the same pair unless you understand why prices either A, went against you, or B, continued in the way you thought and give you your TP, okay? And we delved really deep into that. So I think there's been some good takeaway bits on this today. It's not, like I say, stop the share a moment. Trading is not always about profit, okay? That's the end goal. The takeaway of today's session, okay? The end goal is to take profit and be profitable, okay? But at the same time, trading is all about the emotions, how you control your emotions and how you understand the movement of price, okay? So for me personally, I've enjoyed that session because this holds me accountable to be able to show you what it takes to not rush into a trade. Many people that do these live sessions or recordings or one-on-ones or try to show you what to do, or if you're part of another platform and part of a group that sort of do this as a community, they hunt for a trade. They hunt and hunt and hunt. They force the price for an entry. I don't do that. I'll try to understand what's happening, what's going on around me. From there, I set up my point of interest, and then I wait for the price to come to those points. Once I look at those points, I look at what could happen as confluence, if that makes sense. And then from there, we take it from there. So for me, this morning has been a fantastic session, albeit we didn't take a trade. I just hope that you've taken something out of this personally. It's like I say, it's not always about hitting them 1%, 2%, 3% and more percent profits each day. Some days we have days like this where your emotions will be tested, your ability to be a consistent trader, which is what we've done there. We've been consistent in what we've done. We've kept our confidence there. And for me, it's been a good session. Okay. So again, please drop your comments below. Let me know what you've taken out of this today. Hopefully you've seen the power and all that on just being that little bit more patient. From there, guys, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified when I go live. Hit the notification bell. And if you are getting value out of these and seeing little tidbits of value where you're having those little light bulb moments, you can support the channel. The more you support the channel for me on here, the more content I can drive out there. You'll also get access to this community here. And then from there, I am starting to put things together and sort of looking towards trying to do where I can bring 1 or 2 supporters on with me going into the start of next year. But again, I have to start setting things up for that, to be fair, because I need to be able to structure it where we are still able to do what I do constantly, because it is the 1 minute charts. Okay, guys, so thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the session. Please drop your comments below and let me know how you got on in your own training today. And I'll see you tomorrow for tomorrow's session. I'll see you later. Bye.